Okay, so today we're diving into the wild world of cringeworthy social media because there's a lot of really cringy, there's a lot of really cringy advice out there, stuff that's really not helpful, really bad advice. And we don't want to lead people down the wrong path, right? Because we're honest, awesome coaches at the No Excuses Coaching Podcast. So we've put together a list of the most ridiculous, misguided, and bad pieces of social media advice we've ever come across. And we're going to talk about it today. What do you think about that, Ryan?
I think that before we started recording, you were like, I wrote an intro for this episode. Was that the intro?
Yeah, that was the intro. I paraphrased because I don't really like the intros, like the ones that are like too intro-y.
Yeah. So you paraphrased your own intro that you wrote, like on the fly?
No, I wrote it using ChatGPT,
Uh,
but they're like, "Welcome to our podcast,
yeah. Sound good so far. Welcome, everybody, to our podcast.
where we help coaches and entrepreneurs kick butt and take names in their business."
Oh, I don't like that. I don't
No,
like that. I do not care for
I don't care
cliches.
for that. So I started with today, we're diving into the wild world of social media and calling out the 10 worst pieces of advice we've ever heard for coaches trying to grow their business organically. There we go.
All right. It's the 10 deadly sins of social media coach marketing.
Yes, it is. The
That's what
social media sins.
social media sins. And you know what happens if you commit too many sins, Alana Banks.
Yes, I do.
You go
Where
to
do we go?
social media coach hell.
I do not want to go there.
Yeah. Okay. So how do we avoid social media hell? Do not commit the grievous sins that we are going to outline today.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Got it. Okay. Should we tell them what they are?
No, I think
No,
we
we
should
should just turn off
we'll just
the
turn it
recording.
off and then you can email us and tell
Yeah.
us what you think they are. And then,
Okay, number one. It says here, just post as much as possible, even if it's not high quality content. Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, this is terrible advice.
Yeah.
However, I think I like this a little bit. It requires context.
What's the context that it requires?
Well, the context is you do want to post as much as possible because that's going to help you gain more visibility and it's going to help, you get more engagement and more followers. However, the thing that's not so great about this is even if it's not high quality content, it doesn't need to be like high quality in that it's taking you hours to create content, but you do want to have like an objective, right? Like you want to have core messages. You want to have something that you're speaking to, something that you're focused on. And then you can create as much content as you want, in my opinion.
Yeah. So, I mean, this one's telling you not to put not to put quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, a lot of people will tip the scale too far the other direction, and they'll be, a perfectionist when it comes to posting content, which ultimately means they post not nearly enough content. So the answer, folks, is balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, don't post garbage, but also you don't need to post absolute 100,000% polished perfection. You want balance. You want a consistent flow of good quality, relevant content, and that's the name of the game.
Yeah. So, post a lot, but make sure that it's good.
Good.
Here's one thing. This is an example. Okay. So recently I did an experiment where I posted 3 pieces of content a day. And I didn't want it to be too cumbersome. I didn't want it to be like taking up all of my time because I have other things that I'm doing. And I was able to post 3 pieces of content. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but because I knew exactly what I wanted to talk about, it was easy for me to create the content. And I used ChatGPT to help me, cut down time. And as a result, I got so much more exposure. Like my exposure, my engagement, everything increased by 100%. So it's worth it. So it's not like a, what do they call it? Spray and pray, something like that.
Yeah.
Right? It's don't just like be putting out all this content, grasping at straws, right? Have a plan, know what you're talking about, know what your focus is, and create mediocre content, that you can put out a few times a day
I
instead
don't
of,
think mediocre is the correct word. Mediocre means bad.
does it? It's like
Yeah.
medium. Mediocre is medium.
No, mediocre is not medium.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
Mediocre has like a negative connotation.
Okay,
Although
fine.
I could see why you would think maybe, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Maybe different people have different perceptions. No, you want just
Decent.
decent content. And like that, even that might sound a little weird, but like think about, a meaningful conversation that you've had with a friend over coffee where you both thoroughly enjoyed it. Did you study for hours to, have the perfect thing to say when you arrived for coffee? Or did you just show up as you were and talk about stuff that you knew because it's your wheelhouse, right? That's
Totally.
the sort of attitude we want to come to daily content with.
Hmm. I like it.
Cool. All right, enough of that one. Number
Number
two.
2,
Number next.
buy followers to boost your numbers quickly.
Terrible advice.
Terrible. Do not do this. Do not buy followers. That's just going to damage your reputation. It's going to damage your engagement. It's going to
Yeah.
damage your relationship with Instagram.
I think a lot of people hear this and they say, oh, and they hear us saying it's going to damage your relationship with Instagram and it's going to damage your reputation. And they make the mistake of thinking we mean this from a moral or ethical light, which
Mm.
that is the case, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is not that like people are going to figure out that you bought followers or you're going to get bad Instagram karma, although both of those are possibilities. The real problem is when you buy followers, it messes up your follower to engagement ratio, which is a real thing. And as mysterious as the so-called algorithm is, everybody knows, everybody who knows social media knows this is a real thing. If you have a lot of followers and you have little engagement or inconsistent engagement, which is the direct result of buying followers, the algorithm, the platform can't help but assume that your content is not good because you have lots of followers, but you're not getting engagement. Therefore, it will push your content to less people. And this is a huge pitfall. People don't realize this when they buy followers. And then somebody might say, well, you can also buy fake engagement to go along with your fake followers. And there's one pitfall after another that equals it's never going to work in your favor to buy fake followers or fake engagement. It's just not.
Yeah.
So as much as I, think it is dishonest to buy fake followers, that's not why I'm telling people not to do it. I'm telling you because not only is it going to waste your money, it's going to put you ultimately in a worse position than if you didn't do it.
Totally.
Boom.
Yeah. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Number 3, don't worry about engagement. Just focus on getting more followers. So this kind of should have been lumped into number 2, but
No, this one's a little different.
it's a little different. Yeah, like you don't want, I would rather see an account that has like 400 followers and lots of engagement on every post than an account that has like 5,000 followers and like, 1 or 2 bits of engagement on every post.
Yeah.
Right? That's more engaging. Probably you're making money, probably you're getting building more of a community in that first scenario where you have less followers but more engagement.
Yeah. And good engagement is more likely to lead to sales than lots
Yeah.
of followers. And I teach about this in the social media training that I do. There's a difference between content that gets wide attention and content that gets deep attention. And really, ultimately, you want a mix of both because you do want to be growing your follower count, but you also
Yeah.
want to be deepening your rapport and your connection with the people who are following you. So focusing exclusively on one or the other is again not the thing to do. We want to find balance
Hmm.
between the two goals.
Yeah. Like I think, isn't there a book about how you only need, is it 100 friends or something like that?
Yeah, there is a book, a sales book. It's called Your Golden 100 or Platinum 100 or Special 100. I haven't read it, but I'm aware of it. I heard
Yeah.
a summary of it. And yeah, the principle is when you have like 100 true fans, like people are really into what you do, um, between referrals that you'll get from them and their own, and them investing in you and so on, like you're made in the shade,
Yeah.
so to
Yeah.
speak, right?
That's why, like, there are some really successful coaches online who are making tons of money, but they have like 100 followers or like 150 followers on Instagram. And you're like, oh, yeah, as if they're successful, but they're actually really great.
Yeah,
They're, they're done.
cool,
Cool.
absolutely. Okay, we got it. Number 4, copy the content of other successful coaches in your niche. There's some bad advice.
Don't copy, model.
Yeah. And some people listening might say, oh, that's the same thing, copy model. And I would say, then you don't understand the words copy and model. They're tremendously different things, right?
Hmm.
To copy someone, let's say, a musician copying a musician, you're stealing their lyrics and their melodies and you're just saying it's your own, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But if I hear, a country star on the radio and I say, oh, I'd love to learn how to do country music, and then I go and write my own songs with my own melodies and my own lyrics, that's modeling. It's a huge difference, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, look at what the coaches who you admire and are successful online are doing, and model it. Model it. Don't copy it, but model it. And I emphasize admire because there's a lot of successful coaches out there, and a lot of them are going to be putting out content or have business strategies that you don't like and that you don't feel good about.
Yeah,
So don't model them. Model the ones who are living a life and functioning in a way that you like and who are successful.
totally. Yeah, we
Cool.
got that one.
Boom.
Number 5 is use clickbait headlines to get more clicks and views.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't
That's
do that.
that's an
I
interesting one.
It is interesting because there's one way that you can do it that I think is actually really good advice. And then there's one way that's not so good. The one way that's not good is by using clickbait. So stuff that information to get people's attention, but regarding something that is not relevant to your niche or something that maybe you don't believe in. But obviously, you want to have a hook that is going to grab people's attention, but that is
Yeah.
relevant to your audience, to your community, to what you coach about, what you believe in, what your core message is, what your niche is, right? So you want a hook that's appealing and that gets people to click, but you don't want it to be clickbait. That
Yeah.
is,
So I think the difference is, a hook, which is how all content should start, is something that hooks attention, versus clickbait. If we're going to use the term clickbait, it's probably not going to follow through on the benefit or the reveal that is suggested by the opening line or by the hook, right?
mhm.
Like if you say, how to make $1 million in 30 seconds with Chat GPT, no experience needed. If that's your hook, your content better deliver the explanation of how that is possible and how a regular person can do it. If it's like if somebody clicks on that and it's like, oh well, this will only work if you're Bill Gates, and like, then people are going to be disappointed, and ultimately it's going to damage rapport, right?
Yeah.
So a hook can be highly intriguing and highly interesting. Just make sure the content follows through on what the hook promises, because if it doesn't, then it's clickbait. It's going to damage rapport. People are not going to like that.
Yeah, totally.
So
All right. Number 6, don't bother with SEO. It's not important for social media. And SEO is search engine optimization. If you're not aware of that, I know you are, Ryan, but the listeners may not be. It is important, actually, because it wasn't important at one point, but now it is important because Instagram or the web, I think now actually crawls your content for keywords, specific keywords that are related to your niche.
Yeah, for sure. You want to keep, the content you're producing on point, on subject, because whether it's, search engine crawlers or the platform itself, these systems are paying attention to what content you're producing. And the more optimized your content is for your niche, the more your content's going to get pushed to your niche, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So just basic principles of content optimization, use the jargon that your industry uses, be on point, be on subject, be on target as much as possible. And yeah, I mean, and by the way, one of the largest search engines in the world is YouTube, which is a social media platform, right? More people are searching for answers to their questions on YouTube than on some, traditional search engines these days. So, yeah, SEO, basic search engine optimization, always, first of all, it takes no longer to do that. This is one of those things. It takes no longer to do it than to not do it. And not only does it not hurt, it helps.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Good.
Cool.
I like it.
Let's go on to number 7. Automate all your social media posts so you don't have to spend time on it. Huh. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like this one. I think this is terrible advice because, and I think we've talked about this before. When you're in your business, you want to automate all the like other stuff. When it comes to creating community, having conversations with potential clients, that stuff you want to keep close to your chest. That's the stuff that you want to have the most time to do, because when you start automating it, you become removed from like what's going on in your business. So I would say automate other things in your life that are taking you away from your business, and spend the time writing your social media posts, engaging with the community, like and talking to people in your direct messages, posting your content. Also, I don't know if this is true, but I have heard in the past that when you automate, like if you use an app to automate your social media content, like Instagram knows that you're doing that. And what happens when you're automating, you're not on the app, right? So when the caption goes up or whatever, the reel or the post goes up, you're not there to be engaging if people are commenting right away. And that's called like posting and ghosting. So you don't want to do that, right? Like you want to be on the app, posting the content. And then from what I've heard, also, you want to spend like 10 minutes on the app after you've posted to show that you're active, like you're an actual human being who's using the app and engaging. And then that way, if people comment, then you can reply to the comment right away, because that also helps boost your visibility.
Yeah. Yeah, I think some degree of automation is okay on social media, but there's 2 things that you don't want to be on social media, particularly as a coach. And I've talked about this before. You do not want to be the unreachable celebrity who just posts and ignores everyone, doesn't answer comments, doesn't engage with people, doesn't follow back, etc. Bad idea if you're a coach or in a personal service capacity. And the other thing you don't want to be is a robot. You don't want to have a totally mechanical presence online, because even if people don't know it's automation posting your content, unconsciously, subconsciously, your engagement feels different. And also, we haven't even gotten specifically into automated engagement, because this post is talking about posting specifically, but there's this whole kind of seedy underbelly of having bots do your engagement for you and having bots go around and like people's posts and post these horrible generic comments on people's posts. Oh man, don't do that. Don't do that. I mean, maybe it'll work in the short term, but I can spot a bot posted comment on my content from a mile away, and it damages rapport really rapidly, in my opinion. When I see somebody's account has had a bot comment on their behalf on my content, It's almost like an insult. Like I don't take it personally by any means, but it certainly doesn't work in their favor.
Yeah.
So that type of automation, which is not automated posting, that's automated engagement, which is a
Yeah.
different thing.
Yeah.
It's actually against most user agreements for most social media platforms, which is why I say it's seedy. Um, I would avoid that, ladies and
Yeah.
gents and
Same thing with the
folks.
DMs too, right? Like the automated direct messages.
Yeah,
I hate those.
cool.
Okay.
Number
Number
8.
8. This is when I wish like the podcast could be more interactive, you know?
It can be. We're both reachable. We're not unreachable celebrities.
Exactly. Totally. We're very reachable. Very reachable. Because I feel like this is like a point where I'd be like, does anyone have any questions? You know,
Okay. Should
is
we
there
do a
any?
live recording someday with
That
a
would be
live
fun.
with
Yeah,
a
that could
live
be fun.
studio audience, and then
Ooh, I
we
like
can have
that. Yeah.
applause and stuff?
Hmm.
Cool.
Okay. Number 8, don't respond to comments or messages. It's a waste of time. Like, who gives this advice? Definitely not a waste of time. If people are commenting and messaging you, they're taking time out of their busy life and schedule to show appreciation, show love, ask a question. And so that deserves a response,
Yeah.
right? Because they're taking the time to message you about whatever it is you've put out there into the world.
Yeah.
So
I would
definitely
agree.
not a waste of time.
I would agree. And every now and then, how in like Instagram, if you like somebody's story, like with one of those reactions in their actual story, it
Yeah.
sends them a DM of it.
Yeah.
So like every now and then, or like even if you comment on somebody's story at the bottom of their story, it sends it to them as a DM.
Hmm.
And so every now and then I'll like, send a reaction or send um, a little compliment or, or make some comment in response to somebody's story. And then I'll think of like something else that I want to add and I'll like go into the messages to like send a follow-up message.
Hmm.
And every now and then, this doesn't happen often, but every now and then I'll look at like the history. And it's like somebody who I've been following and we've been following each other for months or years in many cases. And I can see like I've sent them all these little compliments and messages and answered their questions that they've asked in their stories. And they haven't replied to any of them. They haven't hearted any of them. And I can see it says they're seen.
Mm.
And when I see that, first as a social media coach and somebody who does well in business, I'm just like, why? Why, if somebody shows genuine interest and engagement in your content that you're spending time and energy to produce, would you not respond to that at
Yeah.
least by acknowledging it?
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, I probably am not going to waste my time engaging with this person ever again,
Yeah.
right? And if they happen to offer a service that I'm in need of at that time and at that point in time or in the future, they're certainly no longer somebody who I'd be willing to invest in. Now, again, this
Hmm.
is my personal values. And some people might be listening to this and say, oh, you're overly critical or sensitive. You're Ryan, you're upset because they're ignoring you. It's really not that. It's just that I only want to do business with people who are, engaging with others to the standard that I hold for myself and my
Yeah.
followers.
Yeah.
And
You want it
when
to be a
people,
mutual, a
yeah,
mutual exchange.
when people send me compliments and messages, I acknowledge them and I respond because I think that's the right thing to do. I kind of think of it like, imagine you're at a cocktail party and there's
Hmm.
all kinds of people mingling and, you're having these little 30-second or 5-minute conversations with people here and there. And, you walk up to somebody and you say, hey, I heard that speech that you did earlier, that toast that you did. It was really cool. And I loved that story that you told. And they just like look at you in the eyes. You can tell they've heard what you said and emotionless. They just turn around and walk away without saying anything whatsoever. That's what it's like when people send you a compliment or an engagement on social media and they know you've seen it and you've not replied.
Yeah.
You're basically doing that in a virtual format.
True. Yeah. And it's easy, right? Like, I mean, when that's a great example because Like, I don't know many people who would actually do that in like a live setting. I mean,
It
I'm
would
sure
be
there are.
weird,
It would
right?
be
Like,
very weird. But for some reason, when you're online, it's different, right? Like, some people think that it's like that they can just do that and that's okay.
well,
But
certainly that's their right, but
yeah,
they're leaving money on the table and
yeah,
potential sales and turning away people who might have turned into clients.
exactly. Yeah. And you have to realize that, you're posting content ultimately to probably make a sale, right? So that could have been the beginning of a sale, right?
Yeah. And a lot of times, I know I've said this before in other episodes, before people make an inquiry about your services, they'll test the water by sending you a DM about something totally unrelated.
Hmm.
And guess what? If you ignore them or you send them a really lazy response, that inquiry that was coming about your paid services is no longer coming.
Yeah, exactly. And also, like, it could have taken them a lot of courage to even send you that DM. Like, you don't know what was going on for them before they sent the DM. Maybe they've been engaged, maybe they've been watching your content secretly, right? And wanted to reach out, but had nerves about reaching out, or like they don't know anything about coaching. And then they finally got the nerve to message you, and then you just ghost them
Yeah,
on the message, right? So,
don't
yeah, don't
do
do
it.
that.
Cool.
Number 9, don't worry about your brand image. Just post whatever you feel like.
This is an interesting one.
Mhm. I mean,
Thoughts?
well, yeah, my thought is you do need to worry about your brand image, especially if you're selling a service, because the way you are representing yourself online, the way you show up online is a reflection of you as a coach, who you are, how you work, what it might be like working with you. Um, and just posting whatever you feel like too is, if you're selling a service, it's important to be on brand. Like, you don't have to be super tight and have like a polished uh, Instagram feed, or something that looks perfect, but it needs to send a message, like one message. And if you're kind of all over the place, just posting whatever you feel like, then that's confusing for the people who are following you, because they don't really know like what you offer. They don't know what you represent. They don't really know what your message is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I hear this one, don't worry about your brand image, just post whatever you feel like. To me, what comes to mind is like polarizing content or like polarizing
Mm.
opinions,
Mm.
which are fine as long as your niche is on board with that.
Hmm.
Certainly, I believe firmly in free speech. Talk about whatever you want. Just be aware that like your polarizing opinions might alienate some people, and you have to be okay with alienating potential clients in some cases if you are going to do that.
Hmm.
Um, the other thing is that I actually would avoid regardless, even again affirming my belief in free speech, is any language around being at effect. And
Mm.
so, for those of you that are in the coaching industry, if you don't yet understand the principle of being at cause versus at effect, sometimes I'll see coaches and service providers and people who purport to be a leader of others using language or messaging or telling stories that puts them clearly at effect, which is going to be I would say it would be a client repeller, and it would be a client repeller, except that those people will still attract clients who are less than ideal, people who are not
Yeah.
ready to change. So if you're unfamiliar with at cause versus at effect states of mind,
Hmm.
probably it's a little too much for us to get into today, but research it, I would
Yeah.
say. That's the
YouTube
homework to
it.
the audience. Yeah. Any type of ad effect language is going to turn away dream clients and draw in clients who are not yet ready for coaching. And if
Mm.
you ever, had somebody invest in coaching and only to find out that they're really not ready for coaching, they're not. That's not the type of experience the coach wants, and it's not helpful for the client either.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the bottom line for this one is just be mindful of what you're posting. Ask yourself, does my audience need to hear this? And if it's something that you really want to post, how can you approach it from a positive, empowering way?
Yeah. Cool. And
Cool.
number 10, and I don't know if these we're not in a particular order. This is just 10
No.
sins. It's not like
And
10 is the worst thing you could possibly do in coaching social media, but it's number 10 nonetheless.
yeah, it made the list. So it's worthy
Mhm.
of a mention, you know?
It's worthy. Do you want to read it? Or do you
Sure.
want me to read it?
I can read it.
You read the first half and I'll read the second half.
Okay.
No, you read the whole thing.
Don't bother with analytics. Just keep posting and hope for the best.
Bad idea. Bad
Bad.
news.
Such a
Bad.
bad idea.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a numbers person, just pay attention to how are people responding to your content.
And the word analytics is kind of a big word. Don't be put off by that. It just means paying attention. If you post something and tons of people like it and share it and comment on it, versus if you post something and everybody ignores it, well, just post less of what everybody ignored and post more of what everybody loves and comments on and shares, right? Just pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Easy peasy.
easy. And then if you really are into analytics, you can go deeper into your insights
Yeah,
and analyze those too.
absolutely.
All right. Well,
Cool.
those are the sins.
Those are the 10 sins.
I wonder if any of our listeners are sinning.
Yeah. Should they confess their sins to us? A direct message on Instagram for 1,000 Alana Banks bonus points.
I imagine that some people are doing some of these things, you know?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. I mean, hey, folks, don't worry. Just stop it. If
Yeah.
if you've heard some of these points and this is stuff that, you're guilty of, don't worry about it. It's easy to fix. Everything here is easy to fix.
Yeah.
Easy and fast and fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's it for this week. If you want to follow us, I would love for more people to follow us on Instagram at It's the No Excuses Coaching Podcast. No, it's at It's the No Excuses Podcast on Instagram.
Maybe that's the problem. We keep giving them the wrong Instagram account. There's some like weird other podcast that has millions of followers thanks to us.
Well, I mean, we haven't really been posting that much on the Instagram account. So
But you do a really good job with the reels and stuff that you post on the
thank you.
on our podcast Instagram
Yeah.
account. It's pretty
Yeah.
great.
It is
Yeah.
pretty great. But it would just be nice if we had more people following us and engaging with the content, you know? So follow us and send us a message if you're sinning. I'd love to hear.
Or if not, yeah. Either way, you don't have to be sinning to send us a message and say hello. You just
Or
DM us.
maybe you heard all these and you're like, I'm not doing any of those. I'm amazing at social media, and that's awesome too.
There you go. Yeah, let us know about that.
Mhm.
Gold
Yeah.
star.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So I'm at Ryan Montes NLP on Instagram. My Simple Social Sanctuary community is open now and accepting new members. We've got 67 people in there already. And this is where I teach people all my insider secrets about attracting clients on social media and doing it without going crazy, working your butt off. Alana Banks is one of the members actually in the sanctuary. So
it's a great community.
It's great. Yeah. And it's really, people are very happy with what they've discovered inside the sanctuary. It's part of the low price, very high value revolution that I am a part of these days. So come check it out, ryanmontes.com/simple social, or send me a DM and I'll tell you all about it.
Yeah. And I'll add, even if you think that you're like a social media rock star and you're like, oh, I don't need that type of support, join it. Because it's high value. It's a community of people that are like-minded and interested in similar things, and you're going to learn something no matter what. Even if you think you're a social media rock star and you're doing everything right, there's something to be learned for everyone in that community. Whether you're a beginner or super seasoned, join. Because I would consider myself seasoned, and I'm still learning stuff. And it's nice to bounce ideas off of people, and the other part of the membership is you have like a more engaged membership where there's like coaching call every week and like a community to join. So
Yeah, it's somebody messaged me. One of my students from a few years ago messaged me, and she said she saw the information page for the sanctuary, and she was like, "Wow, that is a no-brainer offer if I've ever seen one." And if you've heard this term before, no-brainer, basically what it means is it makes more sense to invest in the offer than to not because of the value to price
yeah.
ratio. Yeah.
Yeah.
So check it
And,
out.
like, I don't know what your plans are, but I assume that at some point the price is going to go up. So,
Mhm.
get in at the founding members rate.
Get in at the founding members rate while I'm accepting members.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Cool.
Cool. What do I have going on? I am super excited because, as you know, I just finished learning about palmistry and palm reading and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to be reading palms at the Mystic Market in Toronto, downtown Toronto, on June 18th. I'll be there from 12 to 7 reading palms. And it's at a space called Alternity. So if you're in town, if you're in Toronto, if you're in the GTA, come out on Sunday, June 18th and say hi. I would love to see you there.
Beauty.
Yeah.
Cool.
And
All
I've
right.
also got my retreat is booked for November 3, 4, 5. So I'll be sharing more details about that soon. I've only got 7 spots available. This is going to be a very intimate, very transformative weekend. And if you're interested in deepening your relationship, creating more connection, being more vulnerable, having open, honest conversations, if any of that sounds interesting to you, you're going to want to pay close attention to my Instagram, which is Alana Banks Coaching. And you might want to hear more about this retreat coming up. So stay tuned for more information on that.
Boom. Cool. Love it.
Awesome.
I know that retreat's going to be insanely good.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. So get in touch with Alana now and
Save your spot.
save your spot. Yeah. Cool. All right.
Okay. Thanks,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye.